On the list of dumb things we've done for this channel, this is number one. Sorry to get you excited, just to let you down, but that's what we do here. Well, the get you excited part, not the let you down thing. You know what? Neither of those sound right. But we will get to that final drop test. I just have to fill some time first so I can run YouTube ads, so I can justify the channel to Winnie, because she's really impressed by those $43 YouTube checks. So you just sit back and behave yourself and watch the full video, because I worked really hard on it, and I'm not above begging. So we're going to talk about what makes this Gungnir bar so special, and yes, we'll also attempt to murder along the way, as there's plenty of lifts and drops before that final test. We'll start by covering the specs real quick so you know what you're getting yourself into if you decide to purchase this thing after the gauntlet we've put it through. The Gungnir Allrounder bar adheres to men's Olympic barbell standards, which is just a fancy way of saying it's spec'd to the sizes of an actual Olympic bar, versus a lot of bars you find that will say they're Olympic, but what they really mean is they have a 2-inch thick sleeve diameter so that they can accept Olympic-sized plates. So it's a 20 kilogram bar with a 28 millimeter shaft diameter with dual knurling marks. It's 220 centimeters long with a 415 millimeter loadable sleeve length and a tensile strength of 216K. And while that's a lot of numbers, what it really means is that it's a bar designed with Olympic lifts in mind, but it will perform any lift perfectly fine. And with that 28 millimeter shaft diameter, you're going to get a little bit more whip, which they describe as classic, whatever the hell that means. And it's also easier to grip with that smaller shaft thickness, which if you use a hook grip like we do, may be a welcome addition. My training is primarily in power building, and if you're wondering what that is, it's for people who aren't strong enough to power lift and aren't big enough to bodybuild, so we made up our own category so we feel like we belong. It also means I'm not talented enough for Olympic lifts, even though that's where a lot of my background and training came from, which is a long-winded way of saying I've used this bar for a ton of different lifts and I found it to work well for everything so far, but I will highlight specific pros and cons of its build with certain lifts along the way. It's got an electrical nickel finish on the sleeves, which is a gorgeous and durable finish that will hold up really well over time, and a satin hard chrome finish on the shaft, which will also hold up well, but personally I'm not in love with the look of the satin chrome against those sleeves, but that might be because I love those Cerakote finishes they teased us with early in development. And it's made in Norway with a lifetime warranty, which I'm sure we voided at least a dozen times while making this video. Now onto the knurling, and I really tried to get away from the cat tongue knurling system on this, but Winnie would hear nothing of it, so I created a graphic that hopefully streamlines the process and appeases her and the three of you that still enjoy this joke I can't get away from. Now, the center knurl and outer knurl have different levels of aggression to them. The center knurl I'd call passive, but that's what I call an Ohio bar, and this is less than even that. That's not to say it's bad, it's very cleanly cut, and a lot of multi-purpose bars don't have a center knurl, but it's really going to come down to preference whether that's something you want or not. But for this particular bar, it's not a reason I would avoid it, because that center knurl is just so passive. It's not the most helpful for squats, but it's definitely better than nothing. You could also make a good argument as to why that center knurl lacks aggression. If you think about it, if you're doing a lot of Olympic lifts or lifts when that bar is going to make a lot of contact with your chest, well, I've got enough experience with my Ohio power bar that I know that that's not really the type of pain that I'm into. The outer knurling, though, is more in line with an Ohio bar or a Wonder bar. It's a very cleanly cut passive hill pattern that's going to work really well for Olympic lifts or high rep workouts, but I'd like something maybe a little bit more aggressive for heavy deadlifts, though the thinner shaft diameter does offset that a little bit. It also has bronze bushings with machined diamond cutouts, essentially creating a self-lubricating system. And just like with their dumbbell handles, which is another of their products we reviewed, that bushing design will cut down on maintenance, and it's a really good example of the attention to detail they've put into this bar. Though it doesn't have a ton of spin to it, but I think that's just because of the grease they use. So if you're doing a ton of Olympic lifts, you may prefer a bearing bar or something with more spin, but for someone like me, it's really not an issue. They've truly honed and refined every aspect of this bar, creating what is the prettiest and best crafted bar I own. But that attention to detail and quality of engineering comes at a cost. And this is the most expensive bar I own, excluding specialty bars, unless Winnie is watching. And a lot of that cost comes from the machining that is put into the sleeves and those slide locks. This is a unique looking bar, and honestly, after reviewing enough bars, they all start to look the same, but this one stands out in a crowd. And on the barbell wall, it's pretty much the only bar that gets any attention when people walk over there. Whether the performance matches the price is going to be based on your needs and preferences in a bar, but there's nothing on this bar that doesn't work well. It's just going to be up to you to personally determine if you can justify swinging $600 on a bar plus shipping. But if your gym purchases are like mine, what's one more really well-researched and perfectly justifiable purchase? Well, this one might be your last, so go big or go home. Now, they have lowered the price $200 since launch, and that's because they've heavily invested in their own manufacturing processes. Now, that by no means makes this a cheap bar, but it is a testament to their commitment and evolution as a company. That cost comes from a very cool feature, which are the slide locks, and also from the machine sleeves. And you can obviously complete all lifts with a regular bar that doesn't have those features, but you could argue that some of the things we purchase, that other people purchase, not that I purchased, could be a little bit extra, but this is the type of equipment that will last a lifetime and probably multiple lifetimes, and you could easily pass on. Now, those sleeves have machined grooves, and that's where the slide lock, I didn't actually think this angle through, that's where the slide lock clicks into place. That CNC machining is beautiful, precise, and consistent. And while you'd think there'd be a lot of plate noise when you're loading and unloading those plates, it's actually pretty quiet because of how solidly built this bar is. Now, I'm not going to say the entire reason you'd get this bar is for those slide locks, those built-in collars, but besides flexing on your neighbors about how cool your home gym is, hey Donnie, come check out my new bar.
They moved months ago. That house is empty.
Well, to be honest, none of my neighbors actually talk to me, but that doesn't change the fact that the slide locks are what sets this bar apart from others. It's a quick, easy, and convenient to use system where the integrated lock literally slides and locks in. It's also oddly satisfying, and I find myself playing around with them a lot of the time, even when I'm not using the bar. Now, the lock itself is made out of titanium with a magnet to snap it into place, which doesn't sound like it would hold, but they hold better than any collar I've had, and I've had this bar for about 5 months now, and the lock has never failed. And to be completely honest, I was given this bar for free, so I felt perfectly fine beating the crap out of it. Come to think of it, maybe that's why some companies won't talk to me. Either that or it's my personality. But as you're starting to see, I've thrown this thing around, dropped it, and beat the hell out of it, and it still works as well as day one. My only complaint about the slide locks is depending on the thickness of the plates, because the slide lock has to sit and fit into these grooves right here, if the width of your plate is a little bit off, you might get a little bit of play in them. Functionally, it's never actually affected any of my lifts, but it can be a little bit annoying when the plates don't fit tight. Admittedly, that's probably just because the bar is so well done that the one minor flaw kind of sticks out more. In reality, I've never actually noticed it during a lift unless I'm literally trying to focus on that exact thing. And even my best collars will move and create some play during things like pendlay row or heavy deadlift. But these things, once locked in, they never move. And now for the moment we've all been waiting for. But if you were one of those bad people that skipped ahead, if you can't handle me during my ramblings, then you sure as hell don't deserve me during my redneck drop test. Marilyn Monroe. I'm pretty sure that's the line. And to set this up a little bit, I did actually have to run this twice because the first time the camera was blurry. I guess I'll put the 15s up there because I realized I have to carry that up there, and they got rid of the old path, so that makes this a lot more fun. On the list of dumb things we've done for this channel, this is number one. Okay, a little scarier, but easier. I hope the camera's focused. I don't want to do this again. Take a short break. That is a hell of a fall. So it survived pretty well. It definitely got up to speed. A little dirt and grit, but still snaps in fine. Landed in the prickers, but maybe a little dramatic of a test, but I think if that doesn't prove how well these hold, what really does? Hey guys, kind of forgot to film an ending, so this is it. So click one of these other things here and like and comment and whatever you're supposed to do. Bye!